All right, so today we're preparing for some bad weather, and I've got this old generator here. It's an old Honda, I think it's EU3000. Looks like the previous owner had done some painting on it. Oh, there, EU3000 IS. And when I got it, it would just barely start off the battery, and I could start it off the pull cord, which goes over here. But I was pull starting it one day, and the pull cord just broke because it was really old. And then I didn't want to just rely on the battery, but even if I did decide just to rely on the battery, it's easily accessible. It's right behind this panel here, but it's old at this point, and it doesn't nothing. So and I don't want to rely on just batteries for this thing. And I've taken it apart previously, like a couple years back, but it was way more involved than I had time for. And I don't really have a whole lot of time now to deal with it because that weather's supposed to be here tomorrow, and a little bit of snow tonight. But we're looking at like forecasting anywhere between like 10 to high 30 inches. So you never know what can happen with the weather. And you know what they say, 1 is none, 2 is 1, 3 is probably 2. So why not have 4 generators at work? So let's get to work on this one and see. The goal on this generator today is to not only get that battery out and maybe replace it if I can find one locally, or if I have one laying around here. We'll see if I have a small one that might fit. Get to that pull starter, because I'd much rather have the additional option of pull starting this and not relying on just the battery. Batteries can fail, batteries get cold, batteries go dead. So let's get to it. So first thing is to get this plastic panel off. Once we get in there, you'll see the battery here, and then we'll start working from there. I'm going to try and troubleshoot this as I go, try and figure it out. Because like I said, I've tried before and failed because it looks more involved. But I mean, that was a long time ago, so maybe I'll be better at figuring it out this time. So this panel over here gets you to the carburetor, the air cleaner, and hopefully the bottom of the fuel tank. You can see here, even though our fuel valve is currently, I was messing with it earlier, so it was on, and maybe it filled up the bowl, but I've had it off for a while and it's draining. There's a lot of fuel on the ground, so I feel like either the petcock isn't working. Well, I feel like the petcock isn't working. All right, so now we're in here, and you can see right here is the housing for the pull starter, but it still looks like getting to that is going to be quite difficult. And then we'll eventually pull this carburetor and get her all cleaned up. At this point, that shouldn't be too hard. There's your choke. Yeah, I mean, we could pull that bowl and see what the bowl looks like, but most likely the whole carb's gonna need to come off and go through the parts washer. So it looks like we're gonna have to continue to get, I don't know if we pull this petcock off the fuel tank, and then if we can pull these screws, if it would come out this way. Looks like it has to go out that way. So yeah, there's a cutout in this front panel that looks like it's perfect for that. So I guess we're gonna have to keep pulling the front electronic components apart, and then probably pull the whole gas tank cover that covers the other side. which would include these, not that one, but this one, and then pull this plastic cover that covers the muffler on the other side. So, well, no sense in talking about it for too long. Let's just do it. Maybe I should have drained the fuel out of this thing at some point. I can't even run my heater now. I was running it and then it started leaking and I just had to turn it off before the house blew up. So if you can see back here, right there's the hole for the pull cord. Here's the electric motor for the electric start. So we just need to get this off to get to that. But I think we still have to pull this whole front end off. And it looks like this is really close to coming off. It's just that fuel shutoff valve is being problematic. All right. At this point, I think we're ready to get this housing off of there. There she is. And we just gotta fish our bolts out of here. And the spacer. Yep, we're missing a spacer. Or a bushing. Reverse threads. Oh yeah, there we go. I knew that was gonna happen. Look at that. What a mess. Alright, so we're this far. And now we just have to go buy some rope and a pull handle, because I didn't buy it beforehand. So we'll get back to this afternoon after the job that pays for all these projects. All right, well, we got a little space cleared on the workbench that I probably clear off about once a weekend and just fills up with stuff again. But we got our new starter handle here from Lowe's. And now it's just time to take this old nasty one off and put the new one on. This is never fun. It's like a jack-in-the-box waiting to take skin off your face. So pretty much what I'm doing here is pre-loading that coil spring. And then when I release it, it's going to self-wrap this. If you see right here, I'm gonna slowly release it and it's gonna self-wind the pull cord. And then in the resting position, there it is, it's wrapped, and you wanna put a little tension on so that your handle doesn't hang loose. But you can also do that later, as long as you have enough of this cord wrapped in here, or the pull cord. So if we look at it now, so we got a little tension on there to keep the handle nice and tight. We've got 1, 2, 3 wraps on there. So if you're pulling it, I mean, you're really only gonna be pulling about like that. I think I want one more wrap on there. So we're gonna pull it back all the way out. You gotta keep pressure down on this thing so it doesn't jump. And we're gonna do one more wrap, or one more coil. But we need to dig that white pull cord out of there, because we don't want to wrap it with it. So put one more good twist on there. And now we'll let this thing coil itself nice and slow. And this should give us 4 wraps. There we go. Now we'll just leave this hang loose so we don't lose it. And then once we get it all put back together, then we can put our handle on the outside of this, the main body. So this has got to go, it's still going to get like another 6 inches, and then through the main body on the outside of the generator, and then we'll put our handle on there. So, but I think that's plenty of pull length to get this thing started. And that's probably your realistic pull length right there. And it still gives you plenty, so you're not ripping on the inside components by over pulling it. So Now it's just time for reassembly. And when we disassembled, we pretty much put everything upside down on itself so we know where it goes back. And then I just dropped half of it. But all right, we got the cover put back on with the electric starter and the pull starter. And give it a couple tugs to make sure everything is good and connected. Yep, so we're good there. Let's put the panel back on after connecting some of these wires back up. And then we can run the cord through while we still have decent access. And we'll hang the handle off of it or tie a knot or something just so we don't lose it back inside when we're messing around with it. And then probably put the electrical panel back on. And then time to tear into the carburetor. All right, we get to take that panel back off. Fortunately, it's just 4 screws, or 4 bolts. Obviously this handle is a lot bigger than the factory one, so it doesn't fit perfectly, but I think that's the right amount of tension right there. Keeps the handle sucked in there a little bit. And let's go a little bit tighter. Perfect. That'll work. I was kind of surprised Lowe's either had this handle as an option or like a big red one. And this is the one I decided to go with because that big red one would have been hanging out for sure. So we'll leave this on for now. If I come across a better looking handle, smaller, I'll grab one of those. This is nice for pulling though because it's big, but this engine doesn't have a whole lot of resistance. So I think I've got an old weed whacker outside. Maybe we'll steal the handle off of that before I junk it, because that'd be about the perfect size to tuck up in there. It still has plenty of slack that we can cut this knot off, tie the new handle on, and we'll still have plenty of pull. That was the other nice thing about going four wraps. I mean, look at the length of this pull, and that's not even the end. So we got plenty of cord to work with still. Looks like we got ourselves a bit of a fire hazard down in there. It's insulation, but I'm guessing because this thing's lived outside for a long while that some mice decided they were gonna collect it up. So let's see if we can get a hand down in there without cutting up too much more. Fish that out of there. Oh yeah, that's mouse turd. Alright, well, plan B, vacuum. That is a big old nasty nest in there. See if we can pry this thing off. Look at all that crap down in there. It's a pile of it. Yummy. right, so I've had this battery here laying around. It's a sealed rechargeable, a little what is it? A 7LBS. I think it's like 30 bucks off of Amazon. I got it. And it's got some fancy little features. I don't even know what they all do. But let's see if we can shove it in here. It fits pretty tight. And if we put it in like this, we can get the positive to the positive side, and the negative's a little longer, so it fits over there. It's obviously not the battery that came with this machine, but it's better than the one that was in it, and it's new. So we'll throw it in here, and this strap stretches enough that it looks like it's gonna fit. So let's go ahead and throw her in there. So I can already see we're gonna need a gasket in the back there. It's green and I can tell it's ripped. You can also see these are rusty back there, so they're gonna need to be cleaned up. These hoses, we're gonna try not to break them when we take them off. They're a little brittle, but they really just keep the overflow so that the fuel comes out to the side here. I think they'll keep doing that job just fine. Definitely some rust up in here. So when we take these off, we're gonna have to be careful we don't break them or strip them. One thing I've been wanting to get, and I need to just order one, is one of those impact drivers. I don't mean like one of these. I mean like the kind where it's like a Phillips head or any bit you can put in the end, and when you whack it, it's got like an inclined plane, like threads on the inside. So when you hit it with a hammer back here, it's twisting the bit, so you're getting that impact. So I'll probably order one of those soon, because I've been wanting to try one. Not necessarily for this, but for other things I've encountered. So let's see if we can get this out of here. Ah, that was a lot easier. Yeah, there's that gasket that's trashed. So try to not damage as best we can, because what is today? Friday, and the snow starts tonight. We'll see what we can pick up locally. I also have gasket material, so maybe I'll have to make a gasket if I can't pick one up. But let's get this thing out of here and get it torn down and shoved in the parts cleaner. Shout out to my wife for donating yet another food storage container, even if she doesn't know it yet. Leave that alone. It's the float needle seat. Looks like they went with plastic on the float needle seat, which is kind of good because it avoids oxidation. That seal right there is hard as a rock. We're gonna leave it alone. Pull the jets, carefully take that gasket off, and give this thing a good dunk. Smaller screwdriver. Been in here for, look at that stuff coming off of there. I don't know if you can see that clouding in the water around it. It's been there for 2 minutes. Look at that. I love this thing. I just used dish soap in there on this one. Sometimes I use degreaser, but I'm out of degreaser and I keep forgetting to buy more, so dish soap it is. Bad practice cutting toward yourself. Eh. That's pretty good. Just knock some of those edges down. Another way you can do this is take a piece of white paper, lay it on there, and then take like your shading pencil, or take your pencil and shade it. And then that gives you a template. You can cut that out and then trace it onto a piece of this paper. And pretty much accomplish the same thing with a pair of scissors instead of a razor. We're going to leave that stud alone. I put a pair of channel locks on it to see if it would come off, and it did not want to. So we're not going to mess with it. We don't need to break it. That rust really won't affect anything. So we're just going to leave it and put the carb back together and slide her on. Alright, so what happened was made the repair, filmed all that. We had the snowstorm. We never did lose power, so that was nice. But I lost the last clip of it starting. So here we are probably a month later, and big surprise, it's still cold, like mid-May. So this is going to be a completely cold start, and we're going to use the pull cord instead of the battery. So turn it on, give it some choke, and let's see. 2 pulls. All right, and then a warm start with the starter. Alright, well this thing seems to be running good now, so let's put it back away till next winter.